You used to have one coffee and feel like a superhero. Now you have two, sometimes three, and you still feel like you're running on empty. And the thing is, you noticed. You definitely noticed. But you probably thought it was just getting older, or not sleeping enough, or the toddler being a bad sleeper again. But what if I told you there's a biological reason your coffee stopped working? Not because of age, not because of willpower, not because you're not trying hard enough or the coffee is not strong enough, but because of what's happening to your stress hormones right now in this season of motherhood. And once you understand why it's happening, you can actually do something about it. Not more coffee, not more pushing through, something real. I'm Anna. I'm a medical doctor, a mom to a toddler at 44, and I talk about maternal depletion here in this channel. If you're new here, welcome. I'm glad you're here. If you've been watching from the last few videos, welcome back and thank you for being here. This series is about understanding what's actually happening to your body as a mother and what to do about it. If that's useful to you, do subscribe. The subscribe button is here. Turn the notifications on the little bell here so you never miss when new content comes out. Before we go any further, I want you to think about something for a second. Go back and remember when coffee worked. For me, it was before I had my son. One strong coffee in the morning and I was locked in, focused, productive, clear. I could feel it working. The alertness, the energy, the lift. And then at some point, I couldn't feel it anymore. The coffee would kick in and I'd think, okay, here we go. And then nothing. Just the feeling of needing more. Not the lift, the need. Does that sound familiar? Because if it does, I want you to really sit with that, because that shift from coffee gives me energy to coffee keeps me at baseline is one of the clearest, earliest signs of what your body has entered what I call the compensation stage of maternal depletion. And I explained the compensation stage in detail in my last video. I'll link it here above, I think, or here. But here's the quick version, because it matters for what we're talking about today. In compensation mode, your body is borrowing resources from other systems to keep you going. It's running on stress hormones. It's using cortisol as fuel. And when that system is already overstretched, adding coffee on top of it starts to change. It stops working the way it used to. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. Okay, let's get into the biology, but I'll keep it simple, I promise. Coffee works by blocking a neurotransmitter called adenosine. Adenosine builds up in your brain throughout the day and it signals to your body that you're tired, that it's time to rest. Caffeine blocks that signal. Result, you feel alert. That part you probably already know. But here's what most people don't know. Coffee also triggers your adrenal glands to release cortisol. And cortisol is your primary stress hormone, the one your body uses to mobilize energy in moments of demand. It's the fight or flight hormone. For most people, this is fine. You have your morning cortisol peak naturally. Your body is already priming you for the day. And the coffee adds a bit of a lift on top of that. Clean, simple. But when you're in the compensation stage of maternal depletion, as I like to call it, your cortisol system is already dysregulated. You've been running on high cortisol for months, sometimes years. Your body is already in a state of sustained stress response. Your adrenal glands are working overtime. And when you drink coffee on top of that already elevated cortisol baseline, a few things happen. First, tolerance builds faster. When your cortisol is chronically high, your receptors to it become less sensitive over time. This is what happens to drugs. You know, people get tolerant. That's why they need always more. So the same dose of caffeine produces less of an effect. It's like taking the same painkiller when you're in more pain. It just doesn't cut through the way it used to. Second, the crash gets worse. Once the caffeine wears off, your already taxed system doesn't bounce back the way it used to. So your cortisol was already running high and now it's dropping below baseline. So the afternoon slump, it isn't just tiredness, it's a crash. And you reach for more coffee and then the cycle continues. Third, your body is using coffee to replace what it's not making. This is the one I really want you to hear. In the so-called compensation stage, your body isn't producing the energy it needs through normal, sustainable means, which means sleep, nutrition, rest. So you're relying on stimulants like caffeine to generate the energy you need to function. Coffee becomes a substitute for something your body should be producing on its own. And the reason your body isn't producing it is the same reason we're talking about all of this. You've been in what I call the drain for too long. You've moved into compensation, and your restorative systems are not what they used to be. So to be really clear, this is not about coffee being bad. I'm not here to tell you to quit coffee. I drink coffee. Here's mine. I'm a mom. Don't come for me. This is about understanding what coffee reveals about your biology. And if your coffee has stopped working the way it used to, that's a signal. It's your body telling you something. It's not telling you that you're broken or that you're doing something wrong. It's just telling you that your system needs more than caffeine can provide. So let's bring this back to the framework I introduced in my last video, which is the drain, compensation, depletion cycle, as I like to call the stages. Most mothers I speak to describe this coffee shift happening gradually. It wasn't a dramatic moment. It was one day I realized I was on my third coffee and I couldn't remember the last time I felt genuinely energized. Or I realized I need to look for stronger solutions, like I've been buying energy drinks. That moment when coffee stops energizing and starts sustaining is almost always the compensation stage. So you're not producing the energy yourself anymore. You're borrowing it from stimulants like caffeine. And eventually, even the borrowing isn't enough. This is the moment I want you to catch, because it's the moment you can actually do something about it. And that's what I want to give you today, because the last few videos have been about understanding this problem. In this one, I want to give you something you can do about it. So here's one practical step for today. One thing you can start doing this afternoon. It's simple, very simple, but simple doesn't mean easy, so I want you to actually hear me out on this one. The rule is this: no caffeine after 2 p.m. ever. That's it. That's the step. But I want to explain why it matters, because understanding the reason is what makes it stick. So here's what's happening. Your body's cortisol rhythm follows a predictable pattern. It peaks in the morning, usually between 6 and 8 a.m., so that you can wake up and be active. And it gradually declines through the day, hitting its lowest point at around 11 p.m., which is what allows you to fall asleep and stay asleep. But here's the thing. There's a secondary cortisol peak in the early afternoon, around 2 to 3 p.m. This peak is smaller than the morning one, but it's real. And for most people, if they're not depleted, they barely notice it. Maybe a little energy dip. Maybe you reach for a snack. But when you're in the compensation stage, the afternoon cortisol peak becomes a crutch. You feel the dip and you reach for coffee. And for a while it works. It overrides the dip and you get a second wind. But here's the problem with that second wind. That coffee you drink at 2 to 3 p.m. is still circulating in your system at 10 p.m. Even if you feel fine, your sleep architecture is being disrupted. The adenosine signals that tell your body to wind down are being blocked. So your deep sleep, the restorative phase of your body desperately needs, is shortened, which means you wake up tired again, which means you need more coffee in the morning again, and around it goes. So cutting off caffeine by 2 p.m. gives your body a 4-hour runway to metabolize it before your natural sleep pressure starts to build up. It's not a cure and it won't fix everything, but it is one of the highest impact, simplest changes you can make, and you can start today. And if you're thinking, Anna, I have a toddler who doesn't sleep and I genuinely need the afternoon coffee to function, I hear you. I really do. Trust me. But I would ask you to consider, what if that coffee is part of what's keeping the cycle running? What if the thing that's helping you now is the thing that's making tomorrow worse? It's not about willpower, it's about breaking the loop. And starting at 2 p.m. is how you start. You can also try switching to something that supports your system rather than overriding it, like a mineral drink, some electrolytes, a protein-rich snack in the afternoon window. There are other options, and I will come to it in later videos. These things don't give you the spike, but they also don't steal from your sleep. So it's worth experimenting with. I want to step back for a second and remind you of something. Every video in this series is building on the last one. In video number 1, I introduced maternal depletion as a category, and I explained the biological cost of motherhood. In video number 2, I talked about why your nervous system takes such a hit when you're dealing with toddlers and perimenopause at the same time. So for all the older moms, you have to watch video number 2. And video number 3, the last one, I broke down the 3-stage cycle: drain, compensation, depletion, this framework I developed, and told you how to spot the compensation stage before it becomes depletion. Today, we've gone deeper into compensation, specifically why your body's relationship with caffeine changes so dramatically in this stage. And this is the pattern I want you to internalize. You are not tired because you're not coping. You're not tired because you're doing something wrong. You're tired because your body is in a biological state of sustained compensation and it needs replenishment, not more pushing through. This is the core message of this channel. We are working on this. Moms shouldn't have to cope. They should have their needs met. Keep it. We are building on it. So here's your takeaway from today. Your coffee stopped working because your stress hormones are dysregulated. That's not your fault, that's biology. And the single most practical thing you can do starting today is stop caffeine by 2 p.m. Give your body that 4-hour runway. Start breaking the loop. It's simple, it's not always easy, but it's a start. And if you try it this week, come back and tell me in the comments, did you notice a difference in your sleep, in how you feel in the morning? I genuinely want to know, and I read all the comments. And if this video was useful to you, I want to point you somewhere important. If you haven't seen it yet, I have a video at the start of this series that I consider the foundation of everything we're talking about. It's called Why Mothers Over 40 Are Always Exhausted and It's Not Your Fault. And it's not only for moms over 40, it's for all exhausted moms. And in that video, I explain exactly why motherhood is one of the most biologically expensive things a woman's body can do. Everything we're building on in this series, the framework, the compensation stage, why coffee stops working, it all starts there. So you'll find the link here. And you'll find it at the end of this video, and I'll put it in the comments also, so you are sure to find the link to that video. And if you want to understand the full picture, do go and watch it next. And if you have already seen it, come back, watch it again. Every time you watch it, you notice something new. I'll see you in the next one.